Scott with Andrew Hilton here, and we have a new beer tasting coming up Wednesday, May the 5th at 6 o'clock. Now, after a couple of false starts and a couple of unseasonable spring snowstorms, it looks, touch wood, like spring is actually here. So we're going to dive right back in with fun spring sours. Now, I went for things that had a little bit of a fun story or a little bit of maybe a new brewery or particularly fun ingredients. So we're going to open with Zero Issues Niflheim Mint Gin Gose. So does what it says on the box. You got fresh mint, you've got kind of gin botanicals in there, and done as a slightly salty sour. So I'm kind of hoping it's going to come off almost like a pretty spring cocktail. I'm really stoked for that. From Town Square Brewing out of Edmonton, we have their green tea apricot sour. We've had some tea beers through the shop, and a lot of them have come from Edmonton, actually. Situation has their afternooner tea saison. So I haven't had tea as a sour before, so I'm really looking forward to that. Jam up the mash. Two reasons for this one. Collective Arts now selling their most popular beers like this one and Life in the Clouds in 4-packs, and for a little cheaper than they used to come as singles. And second, I thought this really ruled on the Collective Arts tasting, and then we tasted all the things and we completely lost the plot and didn't talk about anything else. So I do want to revisit this because it was my favorite thing on the Collective Arts lineup. And then finally, Rebellion Brewing out of Regina, which, who knew there was something good out of Regina? This is their pineapple sour, brand new brewery to the store. First time we've carried something of theirs on the shelves. Looking forward to it. All that and a bit more. Wednesday, May the 5th at
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Spring Sours craft beer tasting on a beautiful Wednesday evening. And thank goodness it actually is nice, because I wanted this to be like a bright, beautiful Wednesday night so we could all kind of sit, maybe not outside necessarily. I don't get to be outside, but at least with the windows open. I'd like to point out that literally none of the windows in this building do actually open, and they all have bars on them. So we're going to taste some really different and fun sour ales. This was a really tough one to actually pick a tasting order for. I did get through these once just to kind of pick an order, because you're going to agree by the time we get to the end. For 4 beers that all are sours and share a style, they are different as night and day. We're actually going to start in an unconventional place, which is Saskatchewan. Now, this was something that Nigel and I were discussing before we went on air, and I actually have it called up here in my browser. The number of Saskatchewan craft breweries that I wasn't even aware existed. I mean, I'd heard of Rebellion. I've been to Bushwhackers Brew Pub a number of times. They're like a Canadian classic. Highly recommend them. Blackbridge has been kind of in and out of the market here in Alberta for the last 5 years or so. But, you know, things like Nokomis Brewing Company, Saskatoon Brewing, the absolutely just beautifully honey-named multinational. There's some great stuff going on in Saskatchewan. But we haven't really seen it until now. But the one that we keep hearing about, the one that people keep asking for, has been Rebellion Brewery. And this is their pineapple sour. Now, not the first pineapple sour we've had through the store. If you remember last summer, everyone and their mum was doing a bloody pineapple beer. Annex had like a pineapple wit, and Dandy had a pineapple something else, and we had the Left My Wallet and El Segundo came up the same week, which was their Lichtenheiner with pineapple, so a smoked salty sour with pineapple. And I can't remember, we either were going to do a pineapple week or we actually did do a pineapple week. But I love pineapple sours. And this one is very bright, very clean. Nothing different about it. It's not smoked. It's not, spontaneously fermented. It's not, really crazy. It's just a right down the middle, kind of by the numbers, pineapple sour. Or at least that's how it bills itself. Let's see how it came out. Oh, wow. I am struggling with comments, apparently, because I can see Devin's reply to Craig's comment about Thai burgers, but I can't actually see Craig's comment about Thai burgers. So this is off to a roaring start. It's going to be another one of those tastings where my bloody comments don't work. So that's great. I'm just going to restart the Facebook app real quick here, Aaron.
No problem.
See how that goes.
I also don't know how to unpin.
No, it's there forever. It's there for all time. There it is.
It was a joke, but now I don't know how to get rid of it.
Now all my comments are working. Do we have curbside pickup available? Yes, we do. Well,
That wasn't for you. It was for the Thai burgers.
oh,
And,
right. Never mind. Sorry. Again, I've lost the plot with the whole comments thing. So just ignore me.
But also, you could.
But yes, we do have curbside pickup. But yeah, I'm sure everyone knows that because we've talked about it for the last year. This is basically a kettle sour. So they're adding a sour culture to it, which will be lactobacillus. And then we just get this light, fresh, pretty pineapple character. It's not salted. It's not like over the top. I think 4.5 is right where the alcohol should be on a sour. And it's just very, very pretty. I really like this. Because it's a fairly simple beer, there's not a whole lot to say. I know Rebellion got their start back in 2014. They originally were not planning on really canning anything. They were going to be draft only. They started canning fairly recently. They haven't been in Alberta all that long. But yeah, just a really pretty, fresh sour. And again, I do want to say, oh, well, it's just a kettle sour. There's a huge number of sour ale styles out there, some which are really specific, like Gose, which is a particular German type of sour that has salt, or like Lichtenheiner, which is a smoked salted sour, also from Germany. You've got Lambic, of course, from Belgium, and then styles like what Establishment's trying to do with their spontaneously fermented barrel-aged beers that, they're not always done like Lambic, but they're going for that long barrel aging and using Brettanomyces rather than lactobacillus to actually get that sour character. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but honestly, sometimes just a very simple, charming, pretty kettle sour can be exactly what I'm feeling like. And yeah, it tastes like summer. It's lovely. And I don't know, Heather, I get a lot of pineapple on this. And kind of my big judgment is, if someone just gave this to me and they didn't tell me it was a pineapple sour, they just told me it was a sour, would I know it was a pineapple sour just from tasting it? And I feel like I would. So and I really like pineapple, like it's one of my favorite fruits, so yeah, it's absolutely perfect for a day like today. You got rid of the pinned comment finally?
I figured it out.
Well done, Aaron.
I had to do it in the thingy.
You had to do it? Okay. Yeah, nice and crisp for the sour, and I think that's probably coming off the citrus fruit that's added to give it that crispness. I'm not picking up any perceptible like hop bitterness. If this is hopped, it's hopped very gently and probably just for the stability and freshness of the beer, not for anything else. And they really don't really don't tell you anything on the can whatsoever, and they don't tell you anything more on their website. Again, my continual complaint of websites for breweries, have some history on your brewery so that people can actually talk about it.
Websites are hard to keep up to date.
I know,
like
but their history doesn't change.
That's true, yeah.
Huh, that's kind of interesting. Kevin and Elizabeth are drinking this. Yeah, so can I cover kettle sours? Yes, I can. So a kettle sour is basically a beer that is soured rather than being done in a coolship, which is basically a big brass, shallow basin. When I say basin, I mean it's like the size of a room. They basically, in Belgium or in other countries, they'll take the beer when it has finished fermenting, or even when it's partially fermented, pump it up to the coolship and let natural yeast conclude the fermentation. So we're talking Brettanomyces as well as whatever bacteria may be in the air. We're talking about a kettle sour. After the beer has been boiled and the hops have been added or fruit has been added or whatever you're going to do to it, then they actually take that, they cool it off so it's not going to kill the yeast or the souring agent. And sometimes they'll ferment with the clean yeast or the souring yeast first. Sometimes they'll actually sometimes they'll ferment it with a clean yeast and then add a souring bacterium. Sometimes they'll actually do that at the same time, but it's a deliberate souring done with commercially prepared yeast rather than a wild yeast, done to create a very clean, sessionable, bright style, as opposed to lambic, which tends to be very earthy, very cheesy. It has a strong wood component from the wood aging, and also Brettanomyces, which is kind of the souring yeast. The reason we do kettle sours and we don't just exclusively do, say, yeast sours, The reason for this, Brettanomyces works really, really slowly. Even after a year in barrel, a lot of lambic isn't really that sour. We might say it's funky, but it really wouldn't even be into like a sour beer. We'd call it like a funky saison style. Kettle sour happens really, really fast, and as a result, breweries can actually, sell them in 4-pack cans for $16.95, unlike lambic, which is like $40 for a 750 ml, and we can't even get that much because the breweries are so tiny. It allows you to do sour ales at an economy of scale and at a commercial production rate that really there's no other way to actually keep pace with. So I would say that all of these, in one capacity or another, are a kettle sour because none of these they're using like a commercial or a wild yeast strain to actually make the beer sour. So that's what a kettle sour is. It's a convenient, fast way to make sour beer without waiting 2 to 3 years for it to happen. Let's go down to beer number 2. And yeah, kind of interesting that some people get mild and some people get a lot. Difference between fooder and kettle. Footers will be open topped and they'll be allowed to sit for a long time, Eric. So footers will have A, an oak influence because they're made of oak, and B, they'll have at least some wild yeast characteristic to the point where the bottles that are after they're capped, the bottles will continue to evolve, continue to change, and they'll be a very living beer. With kettle sours, they're usually filtered and designed to be sold for immediate consumption. So there's no wood influence. There's usually no souring yeast because otherwise the cans can kind of explode. And it's more designed for immediate consumption. But a fooded beer, while you can make it in 4-pack cans, and Blind Man certainly does, it's just designed to be a little bit different experience. A kettle sour should be kind of bright, fresh, clean, you know exactly what you're getting. Fooded beers tend to be a little bit more of a complex experience by and large. And that's not to say anything on the table here is simple. I'd say this is simple, but they don't have to be. But generally when you're going with a fooded beer, you're going for something designed for maximum complexity. Just checking on the questions. Ooh, Chris with a good question. Would breweries be tossing chunks of pineapple into something like this, or would they use some kind of concentrated juice to have more control? Generally speaking, most breweries for a beer like this will use a purified, sterilized, usually pasteurized fruit concentrate, just so they know exactly what they're getting. They'll know how many grams of sugar per liter are in it. They'll know the acidity of the concentrate. And if they're making enough of it, they can even order custom concentrates from brewing supply places. So in this case, I would be absolutely shocked for something like this if they actually used whole pineapple. Now, that's not to say you don't occasionally see like one-offs and special brews. I'm trying to think of the name of the beer, but it's absolutely eluding me. We had something not last summer, the last summer before COVID. We had something where they'd like hand charred whole pineapple cores and just thrown them into the mash. They apparently had found a way to get like pineapple cores from like a grocery store or something like really cheaply, and then they just charred them basically with a blowtorch or on a barbecue, and then they added a whole bunch of those cores into the actual brew. I can't remember the name of the beer and I can't remember the name of the brewery, but it was an excellent beer. So yes, there are occasionally like one-off beers that are done that way where they'll add a whole pineapple, but if it's something you're going to make for, in large amounts for a whole summer, or something where it's going to be, say, year-round sour, you wouldn't see that just because A, it's a ton of work, and B, with a beer that's going to be available rather than just once, or it's going to be available for weeks or months or years, it's something you're going to be brewing over and over again, it kind of takes away from beer as art to the point of beer as something that you reliably can pick up on the shelf and it will always taste the same. One of the things we actually kind of have in the can as a brewery beer tasting project we want to do in the future is talking about how IPAs evolve as recipes, because this actually came out of a bad thing that became a very good thing. We dropped a 4-pack of Ring Pop the other day, and 3 out of the 4 cans just destroyed, but we had 1 left. So we actually opened it, and we were all really surprised because we all broadly understood what Ring Pop was, and they've changed it. Either they've changed it or my palate has changed, or maybe it's been forever since I tasted it, but I think they've changed the recipe on Ring Pop. And for 88, that wouldn't be unusual because 88 has gradually changed and tweaked the recipe for Wave Pool all this time. to be much, much more interesting. Because I thought when they first launched, Ring Pop Night Gallery Wave Pool, I thought Wave Pool was the weakest IPA by a mile. I now think it's not just their best IPA, but their best full-time beer in the catalog, and you all know how much I love Duotang. So no, I want to do a tasting probably with 88, talking about how IPA recipes change over time. So in this case, I would suggest it's just a concentrate. And again, you can get really high-end like organic concentrate. Or puree, pardon me, not concentrate. Apricot pound cake. That's kind of interesting. Prevents contamination in equipment. Okay, people are getting ahead of me and answering the questions. Thank you for that, by the way. Oh, and Tyler's getting way ahead. He's already on the apricot green tea sour. Let's get into that then. So this is by Town Square Brewing. These guys are out of Edmonton. These guys got started in 2017. Oddly, 2 out of the 3 tea beers we've done in the year and change we've been doing this, out of Edmonton. Situation had Afternoon Tea Saison, and now we have this green tea by Town Square. This is in collaboration with The Tea Girl, who is an independent tea blender in Edmonton. I'll be honest, it's been years and years since I've been to Edmonton, so I've never been. Both Town Square and The Tea Girl have opened since the last time I was in Edmonton, so it's been a while. But, oh yeah. Oh, very yeah. The tea is actually a little more subtle in the nose than it is in the mouth. Again, I have tasted this already. The apricots to me are the show in the nose. And the tea's definitely there. Aaron was actually saying this kind of reminds him more like matcha or more like green tea ice cream than it does like traditional green tea. And I don't think he's very far wrong there. I think that's actually very apt. If I could put together enough tea beers, I'd love to do a tea beer tasting. I don't think there's enough out there, although, ooh. So next week, we're doing Driftwood. The week after, we have something really, really, really cool on tap. I can say it's an Annex event. I don't know how much Annex has put out there for public consumption in terms of this release, so I can't say too much. But go check out Annex's social media and you'll know exactly what we're going to be doing if they've announced it. But if they haven't announced it, I can't say. But after Driftwood, we're going to be doing an Annex event and it's going to be a lot of fun and it may or may not involve a tea beer. That's all I can say. What was the tea beer from Annex? That was the... Ooh, what was that called? Oh, no, that's going to just throw me for a minute. What was the Annex tea beer called? Because it was really good. There's also a chance of doing Avant Gardener again. There's something in the works with maybe doing like an establishment sours tasting at some point, because I think they're going to have 4 sours in the market over the summer, so we might do something like that. Yeah, it was an Earl Grey thing. It was an Earl Grey like pale ale.
Oh.
By Annex.
Yeah.
What was it called? Yeah, I can't remember either. Aaron and I have both had a really long day, so we're both kind of mentally not here, very checked out.
King's English.
The King's English, thank you. Thank you for looking it up.
Yeah, we did that in a...
We did that in an Annex tasting, or in a...
It was an Annex, it was like a...
I think it was an Annex feature, yeah.
Feature, yeah.
And yeah, I love this so much. I don't want to give away my rankings early, but like, we tasted these two. I'm like, it's the Town Square. That's just it for me. In fact, Aaron's not getting any more of that. That's just going for me.
Hey.
Hey, what?
Hey.
It's a 3 beer tasting. Man the cameras, damn it. No one saw that? Not like it was recorded? Ooh. I just love how much the tea and the almost dried apricot character just builds in the mouth. Thank you, Craig. Yes, King's English. I wonder how delayed the comments are, because I think we'd already said that. I don't know. Buddy comment delay, And yeah, I wouldn't fight having Avant Gardener either. I love that beer. And again, I think it might actually be my summer beer too, but I don't know. Town Square is not one of the breweries that we hear a lot from. We get like emails from them, but they're not something where like they're in my phone and I'm always texting with them, like say Annex or Establishment or 88 or Cabin. But yeah, if this is going to be available all summer, we're going to carry it all summer because this rules. I really like it. Was a lavender beer a tea beer? No, it's just a sour. Not just a sour. Actually, I think we actually have the lavender sour from Moody on our growler station right now. So we're actually doing growlers of that at the minute. And what do I think? What do I think is going to be the beer of summer 2021? I know Hammer Pants is a bit of a divisive one. I know some people really like it and some people are just really not enthused. But if it's going on how much I've drank of something, it's going to be Hammer Pants for me so far. Hammer Pants kind of grooves for me. But it's not even summer yet, so you really can't say. The other one I find myself taking home way more than I would have thought is that Annex Good Authority. Kind of the story of the last few months has really been how much Annex has grown on me. I've really been grooving on their stuff. Okay. Now here's a beer that's going to be controversial because I'm not sure how I feel about it. Let's jump into Zero Issue's Niflheim Mint Gin Gose, which was actually the impetus for this one. I wanted to find really interesting offbeat flavors that we could do as sours. And we kind of found this, and we found the Town Square Apricot Green Tea. And then we kind of looked around, and we thought about doing Left My Wallet in El Segundo because it's so different, but I couldn't get any more at the time. I ended up getting a little more, but at the time I didn't think I could get more. And I wanted actually to get, I think also from Town Square, their Beets by Sinden, their Beet Sour, which is a beer that I really like because it's so damn weird because I really like beets, and beet sour just works for me really well. Kind of reminds me of pickled beets in the best possible way. But unfortunately, just everything that Devin and I tried to like order to make this tasting work of like really weird sours was out of stock, couldn't get any more, wasn't available, wasn't being brewed right now. It was just like, okay, fine. We've got halfway to a neat beer's tasting. What else is out there? And I remembered I wanted to do Jam Up the Mash just because I loved this during the Collective Arts tasting. And then the Collective Arts tasting turned into the All the Things tasting, and then it just became high comedy. And yeah, I wanted to revisit it. And yeah, the Beet Sour. It's called Beets by Sinden. It's a great beer. Yeah. We've tried, I think, twice to put that on a tasting, and then we go to order it, and it's completely sold out from the brewery, and it's like, oh, well, I guess we'll do something else. It's unfortunate. Sour IPAs, yeah. Zero Issue actually has one out right now. I think it's called like Cyber Hack. They do a really nice one. I think Town Square actually does one as well. They call it like 2D, and it's like their Sour New England IPA. We could do, but I'd pose to you, what's the difference between a sour IPA and a dry hopped sour? I'm genuinely not convinced there actually is a difference there. If somebody like Chad wants to correct me on that, he's free to, but I think that sour IPA and dry hop sour are literally synonymous with each other, so. And yeah, we need to get that beet sour back. I'm curious how many people are getting so much mint on this, because I don't get the mint that strongly. I get the gin ingredients, I get juniper like crazy, I get like orange peel, I get lots of the gin stuff. I don't get the mint that hard. I mean, it's there, but everybody's saying, oh, the mint, the mint, the mint. I'm not picking it up. Who said toothpaste, by the way? Dave and Krista. Aaron actually said that he didn't want these two beers to be next to each other, which is actually why the green tea sour was in the middle. He thought this was so toothpastey that if we did citrus of any kind too close to it, we get that kind of like orange juice and toothpaste interaction going on, and neither beer would really taste that good. So we actually split these two up because of that. You're not the only one to get toothpaste, but like I just said, I don't get that much mint out of it, so I'm not getting that. Maybe I'm just lucky that way, because I'm not getting that much mint. Oh man, it is so divisive. I think my grandma used to give me something like this, and then somebody, like 2 comments later, I love the nose on this. Wow. So, like, I knew it was going to be like, there's nobody who's going to be like lukewarm on this. You're either going to love this or loathe this, and that's great. I love that it's so divisive. Yeah, Chad's on the same board with the dry hop sours, same thing. Total mint jelly. And then, yeah, like, again, right back to back, Deirdre and Deanne, and it's like completely mint jelly and the mint subtle, like it's wild. Ooh, Lorraine with a really interesting comment. Reminds me of cucumber sour.
Oh yeah.
You know, it super does. And not Cabin's Cool As, the Cucumber Hippie by 8 Wired out of New Zealand, which we did like second beer tasting we ever did, third beer tasting we ever did.
As soon as the sun came out.
As soon as the sun came out, yeah. That, and which I can't even order right now. It's been like 6 months since I've been able to get it. I assume it's probably sitting on the damn Ever Given in the bloody Suez Canal or some damn thing. But yeah, that was great. I'd love to get that again. Craig's feeling like this is a one and done beer, and I'm kind of with you on that one. I think we'll sell more out of this in the mix 4 or as tasting kits than we would as like 4 packs. I feel like I get through 1 or 2, and then the last 2 cans would just like chill out in the back of my fridge till it was too cold outside to drink the other 2, and then I'd, you know, just kind of end up reaching for them like late at night when, you know, I've already had enough.
You're like, it's pretty good actually.
And yeah, the mint really does stick around. I will say that. I don't get a ton of it on the nose, but I really taste it towards the end. Also, we've apparently gotten through 3 beers in 25 minutes. Bloody hell, that was quick. Let's talk about what we've got coming up this weekend. Friday night, we have our very first rum tasting that we've ever done. We've kind of taken fits and starts at doing a rum tasting. Back before we were allowed to actually package our own minis, we're actually working with El Dorado to try and put together a bit of a rum tasting. It eventually just never happened because we couldn't get the stock and everything else. I'm still working with El Dorado to see if they'll join us for this one. I haven't got a hold of them yet, so we may have a guest, we may not. But we're going to do something very traditional in Pusser's 15 year. This is literally as old a rum company as exists. They do a right down the middle, very classic, heavy, dense, fruit cakey 15-year-old rum. On the exact opposite end of the scale, we have an Agricot rum from Martinique in the French Caribbean. The couple of French Caribbean islands are actually subject to the Agricot laws because they are French colonies. You get the same like cognac French wine law, French cheese like brie law applied to rum, and they have a completely different rule set than anyone else. And the rum ends up coming off much more like a brandy or like a cognac, completely different. And then Enmore and Port Morant, who are from Guyana, these are Demerara rums, as are all of the El Dorado rums. But they're from wooden stills, and they're from single distilleries. The El Dorado rums are a blend of a bunch of different distilleries, but they did this single still series, which I thought was very fun. And these 2 come off of 2 of the last remaining wooden stills still producing. So that would be very, very fun.
That's cool.
Next week on the Wednesday, I kind of spoiled this already, but I'll talk about it just the same. We will be having Patrick from Ethos Beer Distribution will be walking us through some hoppy beers from Driftwood. We are doing 4 beers. I mean, I think everybody by now should know Fat Tug. Like it's kind of a Western Canadian staple. I'd be shocked if we haven't done it so far in our like last year, but I don't actually specifically remember having done it, so maybe we didn't, but we're getting back to it now. We're going to do that. We're going to do the Naughty Hildegard, which is an ESB, except it isn't because it's way too strong to be an ESB, but we'll talk about that. We got the Original Gravity Haze, which is kind of their nod to the East Coast IPA. And then, to me, I really like Raised by Wolves. And there's actually a wild or slightly sour version of this as well. It doesn't come in cans. Haven't seen it in a while. It's also really, really good. But yeah, we'll be doing kind of 4 hoppy beers by Driftwood, joined by the folks from Ethos Beer Distribution, and that will be Friday night. And then next Friday, I'll be gambling with the weather again, and I'm actually going to be doing a rosé tasting to be announced on Friday night. And I know, how's Fat Tug never been on? I think it's been always like our backup beer. It's like, well, it's kind of like trying to do the tea beer thing, or like trying to do that weird ingredient sours tasting where, you know, it's always been like our backup IPA of like, okay, if this just doesn't work out, we'll just do Fat Tug. But all the times it's been our backup IPA, it's all worked out perfectly. And I will admit, like, there are some breweries, 88 Establishment, Annex and Cabin, who have absolutely bent over backwards and let us have stuff that we by no means should have gotten, just to like make our tasting series work. There's been a lot of beers that we've gotten just because we've like done these tasting series and promoted them down here, and they've been so incredibly kind to us. So yeah, we've always had it as the backup and never needed the backup, I think has been the thing. We've always kind of had it in the can as, well, we haven't done Fat Tug yet, so if it doesn't work out, we'll just do Fat Tug. And then it always worked out, which is weird.
It's a nice spotlight.
It's a nice thing.
This,
it does, yeah. Exactly, it deserves this. It's been a year, we've ignored it for this long. It's time to like give the brewery like its own profile tasting. And I feel like we've talked about it a bunch. I feel like we've just danced around ever tasting it, though. Now, apparently everybody says we did do Fat Tug.
Wonder where.
And that's just, I don't have a specific memory of doing Fat Tug either. I know I've talked about it a ton. I don't know from my side if I've ever done it. Okay, well, let's jump in here on a, take your pick, dry hop sour or sour IPA. This is by Collective Arts. This is the Jam Up the Mash. This was a beer that absolutely blew me away how much I liked this. So this is a dry hop kettle sour with Victoria's Secret, Citra, and Mosaic. Thank you, by the way, for turning the can just as I was reading the hop list off the back of the can. And that was really helpful. Oh, and Justin makes an excellent question. How do we all miss doing like a Mexican cerveza tasting on Cinco de Mayo today? Like dummies. Well, you know, sometimes you just looking down the pipe and saying, okay, it's a Wednesday, today's Wednesday, we need to put together a Wednesday tasting in a week, what are we gonna do? And sometimes it just gets away from you.
I'm so influenced by the weather. It really does dictate our...
Elizabeth says, smells like static electricity. That's actually a really good tasting note in the weirdest damn way. It smells like
ozone or what?
Yeah, like ozone, or like when you just know that a blanket's gonna shock you, you can kind of smell it.
Who said that?
Kevin did, yeah. Elizabeth said it, but Kevin was commenting. Yeah, I totally get
That's
it.
Curious. It smells like static.
We actually had a conversation about static electricity. So behind Aaron is our COVID curtain, which he often rubs up against as a result of just, you know, walking back and forth. And apparently it builds up such a static charge that when it discharges into Aaron, it'll cause like a 1 second interruption in the camera.
Yeah, it grounds through the camera fucking... It's not nice.
No. Yeah.
Anyway, static.
Tyler gets soap flavor.
Like,
And Aaron did spend a lot of time on the anniversary video. I've been very nice to Aaron. I was telling a story. I wasn't trying to be hurtful to Aaron. He makes a good point.
Like that. Thanks, Eric. You don't have to be nice to me for that. You rewarded me.
I guess.
Well square.
Yeah, I guess we are really all square with that. That's true. I don't get the soap. I get a lot of lemon. I get really pretty hops. This is going to be my number 2, you know. Like right after how much I love that green tea apricot sour. Still back there, hiding from you.
Yeah, snuck it yet.
But you'll have to get all the way around the counter. Good luck sneaking it. You're not that stealthy. And yeah, and that's why I wanted to revisit this.
So, like,
It got completely overrun with that whole night.
yeah, it's good.
And it remains an absolutely amazing sour. We just kind of lost the plot that night and really didn't talk about it the way it deserved. So
Oh, that one's live. Sorry, everybody.
here we go. There we go. Yeah. Don't be surprised if a 45-minute supercut of me being a dick shows up on YouTube. Oh, I mean, it could be so much longer than 45 minutes.
Is it soap like Thrills or is it soap like Ivory?
Oh yeah, it's a good question. Like Thrills soapy or Ivory soapy? Yeah. I'm curious because I could see Thrills.
Yeah, me too.
And Chris is getting like something reminding me of sour cabbage rolls, which I would say is just acetic acid. That's vinegar. Which there can be some of in a kettle sour. It shouldn't be enough that the vinegar taste is perceptible. If there's acetic acid, it should be there basically to act almost like apple cider vinegar sort of thing. It should give you like fruitiness and brightness and like a little bit of almost a salty feel to the beer, but it shouldn't be perceptible as obviously being vinegar. So if you're getting vinegriness, then I would say that perhaps they've dialed up the acetic acid just a touch too high. But again, like the mint in the Zero Issue, I don't pick it up, but that might be the difference in my glass, difference in palates, and also with sours, difference in individual cans, because these are living beers. They're not living in the same sense as like barrel-aged ones where they're expected to not only change but improve after the bottled. These beers are still very much still alive and will change within the can. They're not designed to improve necessarily, and if you age them long enough, the can may explode because they'll just keep on fermenting. But yeah, there's certainly every can, once it's sealed, is its own little universe, and maybe your can came from the top of the tank, my can came from the bottom of the tank, and they're just very different from each other.
Crazy.
And they say Thrills, and I can totally see that. Okay, I can't believe we're here this bloody early, but rankings. I don't think anybody's going to be surprised about my number one. I've been pretty transparent on this right from the start. It's got to be the Town Square. That rules. I absolutely love that. That's exactly why I drink sour beer. That's fantastic. Jam Up the Mash, I'm going to put as my number two. It's, take your pick, sour IPA, dry hop sour. It's really right down the middle. I think if that was brewed in Alberta and people kind of knew the brewery a little bit more, that would be a top seller for us. I really love that now it's in 4-packs. It's not in single cans. So if you want a 4-pack, you can just grab it off the shelf and go. I think that's great. Oh, I'm going to give the Niflheim my number 3 with an asterisk saying if I could buy one or two, if I could buy it as part of the mixed 4, I think the Niflheim is so interesting. I mean, I gave it the number 3 spot. But if I, absolutely had to buy a 4-pack, I'd take the Rebellion because I feel like by the time I got through the second can, I really wouldn't want a third. But it's just too interesting to give it the bottom spot. The Rebellion Pineapple Sour is an excellent pineapple sour. If this had come out, and maybe it did in Saskatchewan 2-3 years ago, I think this would have an absolutely massive following because this kind of reminds me of what SYC is doing with their Pineapple FOMO. I just think the Pineapple FOMO is a little more interesting. It's certainly tartar. It's got a little more going on. This is very much, and this is kind of why I struggled to talk about it, and I was kind of looking to fill time. It's a very simple beer. There isn't a lot to talk about with it. It's sour. It's pineapple. It does what it says on the box, but it's a very simple beer. It's a delicious simple beer, but it's a very simple beer. It's something they probably will sell a lot of. So we have, somebody else has that number 1, 2413, 2413 again, 2314, 3241, 231 Giant Gap 4 from Megan. Not a fan of the jam Up the Mash. Okay, that's fair. 3142 from Deanne. Deanne, how dare you? Really? The Town Square last? For shame. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of... wow, Jeremy just refused to even rank the Town Square. Like, just not even ranking the Town Square. Didn't like it enough to even give it 4th place. 2, 4, 3, and 1. I'm seeing a lot of 2 as either like a 1st or 2nd from people, which is kind of how I feel about it too. Yeah, it's a fun lineup.
Wild.
I don't think there was anything... there was nothing on the table I hated. There was nothing on the table that I thought was bad. I think this is a bit simple. I think this is a bit much for me to want 4 of them. But those 2, any day of the week, happily buy a 4-pack. All right, and I know it is really early for us. It is like barely 40 past. by which I mean it isn't 40 past. But I think we're going to wrap it up there. Apparently we kind of rolled through that. Oh, it tastes like kombucha and you don't like kombucha. You know what?
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of brilliant, actually. It does taste like kombucha. It's a sour tea. And that really lines up because I absolutely love kombucha. I don't buy it that much because it's really expensive. And I horribly failed at making it myself. I do not have the patience or the memory for like remembering all the things. No, I murdered every kombucha I've ever tried to start. But no, I can see if you don't like kombucha, why you would not like that. And I love kombucha, so. All right, thanks, Lorraine. Thanks, everyone. That was a lot of fun.
Totally.
Thanks, Aaron.
You're
This was
welcome.
great. Let's do this again in a week.
Yeah.
We'll see you all for Rum on Friday night, and we'll see you for our Driftwood profile on Wednesday, and Annex for the Wednesday after that. But I can't tell you any more than that. Have a good night, everyone. Take care.